So bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee. Man, great song. I love that song. I used to listen to that when I was little. It's good now. It's good then. It was good way before I was born. What I'm going to tell you about is some things I didn't know, what the song was about actually, and why it was kind of written. It's a cool little backstory, so we're going to kind of go through that. We're going to talk about the singer and kind of about his backstory and what made him want to write the song. So first we're going to start with who the singer and writer is, and it's Don McLean. And he's a great artist. He has all kinds of songs that he's made throughout the years. Vincent, which he wrote about Vincent Van Gogh, and about the painting. He just looked at the painting, wrote the song. American Pie, of course, Mountains of Morn, and many more. He's a great artist. And so we're going to kind of talk about when he was younger, what happened and why he wrote the song. Because some things happened when he was a little bit younger, about 14, 15 years old. And he wrote the songs about 10 years after that, when he was already starting his music. So he was born in 1945 in New Rochelle, New York. And this is from the Smithsonian Mag video that I watched about the plane crash that claimed the three legends. And so he's growing up in New York. He's delivering papers with his buddies, about 14, 15 years old, somewhere around there. And so he's just now around high school age, and what he's doing is going around trying to get a little extra money so they can listen to records and jam out like we all want to sometimes, you know. And so he's over there delivering paper, and he walks up to the doorstep of one of these delivery routes, and he looks at the headlines on the paper, and it said that the three legends had died in a plane crash. And the three legends he's talking about are Buddy Holly, we got Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper. And these were really big inspirational people in his life. He really loved listening to them, and along with Elvis and Billy Haley and Chuck Berry. I mean, it was just an age of rock and roll coming into it, and it just kind of devastated him that these guys died. And so he kind of took that and mourned on it a little bit, and, you know, just went ahead and got their records and started listening to them a little more, and went up through high school and started his music career a little bit later. He was in his early 20s when he was starting. And he had written his first album, and he was, you know, getting ready to start his second album. And he remembered back to this plane crash. And what happened on this plane crash, we're going to talk a little bit more about. I learned from the Don McLean discussion that he had with Ron Tubridy, an Irish guy. I saw the interview, and he was talking about kind of why he wrote it. And so when he was 14 delivering those papers, he got the news that these three died. And those three, you may have not really know what their music is by their names, but I'm sure you know some of their music. Buddy Holly, you know, maybe baby, I love you. Peggy Sue, Ritchie Valens, la 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 bamba, la la bamba. The Big Bopper, he sings White Lightning, which you probably know better from George Jones, but you've heard his music somewhere. He's always, his voice in general is in music throughout other songs throughout history. The Purple People Eater meets the Witch Doctor. Not the Purple People Eater you probably know, but it's got very similar aspects, and that's where the other song came from, was all this. So these three huge artists were all touring together, and one of the biggest tours that they had really had in that time at a collaboration in note. Like, they weren't no Elvis by any means, but they were just some awesome three people, and they were in their early 20s and just starting out their career, and just all of them were touring around. And apparently they rented a plane because their tour bus wouldn't heat them up enough. Like, it didn't give them enough heat while they were on the bus. So they ended up renting this plane, and when they took off, they ended up running into weather and all three passing away. And so when Don McLean heard the news and thought about it, you know, started his music career, he was thinking back on it, and he ended up writing the song American Pie about this. And if you listen to a little bit of lyrics, you can kind of tell. He's got a long, long time ago, I can still remember when, how the music used to make me smile. And then in February, Made Me Shiver, and The Bad News on the Doorsteps, I Couldn't Take One More Step, when he was delivering those newspapers, and How the Day the Music Died. And then, that's on from there. So you have all those aspects in the stories of kind of the backstory of where he got the idea from, but you got to look at where Don McLean was in his life when he wrote this song, because it was 10 years later, and it also mentions that in the song. 10 years, it's been 10 years now since, and so he's done with his first album. He's moving on to his second album, already done his first tour, and he kind of needs something to draw everybody in together, and something that's like We Will Rock You was for Queen for him. And he's thinking back and remembering all the good times when he used to drive down to the levee and drink beer, and when he, the great music that he used to listen to, and just kind of remembering all the good times and things he did. And he was saying that, like, before too long, it's going to be gone for him too. It's going to be gone for everybody at one point. I mean, that's how it works. And so that's basically a little more information about the song that you have there. And I know that you may not earn a Nobel Peace Prize or anything from this info, but it is a good conversation starter. So, y'all take it easy, and bye-bye.